what's going on, everyone? Isaiah Upshaw with Above the Cloud Media. Welcome back to our first Tech Tuesday video for the year of 2026. Of course, I am Isaiah Upshaw, the director of content here, and today we have quite the video for you today because we are comparing a $200 camera and a $2,000 camera. So stay tuned and let's dive in. Alright, so let's start off the video with the $200 camera. For the sake of this video, we're going to be calling it the DVC camera because it doesn't actually have a brand name because it's from Temu, fresh out the factory. So DVC camera that has no brand. So when I was originally getting this camera, this is before I got my camcorder set up for my YouTube channel and everything like that. And I was like, you know what? I want to see what the cheaper end of the spectrum looks like in terms of quality. Of course, I did watch some videos, I watched some reviews, and at the end of the day, I would say the average review was about a 5 out of 10. The 5 in favor was it does what it needs to do, it captures content, and if you're working on a limited budget, it can work for you. And the 5 opposing it was saying that if you don't mind your video looking like 2007 YouTube, because that's exactly what your camera is going to look like. So, of course, this camera is cheaply made. It probably costs, I looked up some figures, and it probably took about $11 worth of production to actually go into this camera. So needless to say, it does not have the finest bells and whistles. Now, some of the pros are it is very user-friendly. It does have a touchscreen, so it's very easy to navigate. The ISO, the color temperature, the white balance, all of that is very simple. So if you're just learning cameras, this might actually be the camera for you to learn on. Now, I say that with a grain of salt because it's good in terms of the rudimentary and fundamentals of camera work, but if you're looking for something with a little bit more finer detail, this is not the camera for you. So let's first talk about the ISO. So the ISO for this camera ranges from 100, 200, 400, 800, 1600, and 3200. Now, you might think, well, 800, 1600, and 3200 are pretty big gaps. Again, the finer details are not going to be found in this camera. The reason is it's very cheaply made, so of course it's not going to have the ability to adjust the ISO based on your actual environment. So when we shoot with this one, I'm actually going to set the ISO to auto. So generally I would say with this setup, it should be about 400 to 800, somewhere between there. But again, that's just a guess because I can't really fine tune it. Now, one of the things to consider again with this camera is the fact that it is a fixed focus lens. So you'll notice the ridges here that normally would indicate a lens that you can adjust both the zoom as well as the focus, but this is purely for the decoration of the camera because again, it's a cheaply made camera I bought from Temu for less than $125. So if you buy this camera expecting yourself to be able to adjust the focus, don't. I really do not recommend it. Now, it does, of course, come with a shotgun microphone, which I'm actually going to allow you to hear when we shoot with this camera. Alright, so now we switch to the DVC camera to give you an idea of what it actually looks like, because I surely do not recommend it. So I have actually shot with this shotgun mic with other cameras of mine, Canon cameras, and while the quality wasn't the best, I will say it's not that bad. However, because this camera doesn't have the best audio interface, it isn't the best either. So I really would not recommend using the built-in audio. And if I have ever used this camera, I always use a separate microphone from a separate device altogether. So it does boast an 18 times zoom, which will also show during the actual shooting with this camera. But of course, because it's a fixed focus lens, the more you zoom in, the more integrity your video is going to lose. So just putting that out there. And one of the things to consider also with a fixed focus lens is the fact that because it's fixed focus, you have to take into consideration the distance between your camera and your subject if you want the clearest picture. Because if you don't, of course, it's going to be grainy, it's going to be out of focus, and it's not going to look great. But again, with this camera, not looking great is kind of its whole thing. So we're actually going to take a look now at the actual shooting we did with this camera. So let's cut to that. Alright, so now we switch to the DVC camera to give you an idea of what it actually looks like. So as you could probably immediately tell, the quality dipped. And the reason is, of course, this is a cheap camera, mass-produced and sent out to hundreds of sites. So needless to say, there wasn't a lot of quality and care that really went into this camera. Now at the end of the day, it does capture the content it's supposed to capture. So you can see me, you can see the logo on my shirt, you can see my background. But again, you can just tell that the quality kind of dipped. In fact, if you were around for, 2007, 2008 YouTube, I might be giving you flashbacks. Now, of course, like I said, this camera right now is shooting at 1080p. And of course, it does go up to it allegedly goes up to 6K, but that's never worked for me because it starts lagging anything above 4.7K. So it says it can go up to 6K, but for the sake of this video, it's at 1080p. It is actually shooting probably at 400 ISO, and the reason I say probably is because there's no way to really fine tune it, so I just set it to auto, and that gives me the best result. But as I mentioned, it does go from 100, 200, 400, 800, 1600, and 3200, and of course, between the 800, 1600, and 3200, those are pretty big gaps, so I can't really fine tune with this camera, so I really just got to take what it gives me. It is a fixed focus lens as well, so I actually cannot focus anymore on me, and it's all about the distance from the camera. So what I'm going to have my camera operator do is zoom in just slowly, just to show you what it looks like to zoom in with a fixed focus lens. So the further we go in, the less the video looks clear. And the reason is we can't adjust the focus. So again, a camera like this, you have to take that into consideration because those finer details are not going to be all that great. So again, with this camera, you get what you get right out of the package, and if that's not what you want, I would recommend saving up for another camera. However, if you're just starting out in the video space with a limited budget and you don't want to use your phone, this might legitimately be a viable option for you. Now for me and my personal setup, I'm gonna just be completely honest, this is my webcam now because it is better than the webcam I had before, but it's a webcam quality camera. So that's what I use it for. So again, it really depends on your setup, your budget, and what you want your overall look to be. So if you don't mind 2007 quality, by all means, this camera might be for you. But if you want something a little bit more up to date, I recommend saving up. Now, back to the main video. And now let's get to the $2,000 camera, or the Canon XF100. So this is my personal camera. I did purchase it off of eBay. It's actually a funny story how I got this. So I did not pay $2,000 for this camera simply because I didn't have $2,000 for this camera. I just so happened to be searching eBay that day for some new camcorders because of course I had my DVC camera for a couple weeks. And of course I already got tired of it. So I was on eBay looking for a new camera, and I saw an auction for this camera right here. And after tax and delivery, this camera quite literally cost me $200.34. So needless to say, I made off very well. And while I was actually kind of expecting a lemon, even though the seller said it was in great condition, I did not expect to get this camera in the condition. It literally has one scratch on it and it's tiny. So needless to say, this camera I got for a steal. Now, as I said, this is a professional video camera right here. This is a legitimate camera. We actually do use the sister camera of this, which is also discontinued, which is the Canon XF105, which the difference is right here for the 105, it would have the SD or SDI component right here for you to plug in an SDI cord, but because this camera only runs on HDMI, it doesn't have that. Now, this camera was released in 2011 and it was discontinued around 2015. So needless to say, these cameras aren't necessarily hard to come by because of course they were mass produced, but if you're going to buy one more or less brand new, to get it in the condition I got it, you're generally going to pay a higher end, which is around that $2,000. So one of the things I do want to point out about this camera is the fact that it's so versatile because it is a professional camcorder. And one of the things I do like about this camera is the fact that one, as a camcorder, it does allow for one, adjustable focus, unlike the DVC camera, which has fixed focus, and two, the zoom is far better, even though it's only 10 times, whereas the DVC camera was 18 times. So again, this camera is a beautiful camera. I put all the specs up on the screen because, of course, for the sake of time, I don't want to bore you with those because while I might nerd out over this, you might not. But again, this is a quality camera. So even though you might be saying, well, Isaiah, this was put out over 15 years ago, is this camera even still relevant? My answer is a resounding yes. Now, I will caution you, while in today's market, the average quality camera shoots in 4K, this only shoots in 1080p, because remember, back in 2011, that was HD and that was the standard. So you gotta take that into consideration. It's not going to look like the best 4K cameras on the market, but for quality, high definition video, this camera still reigns supreme. So, of course, we're going to cut to our footage using the Canon XF100. That way you get a good idea of what it actually looks like. All right, so now we're shooting with the Canon XF100. So immediately you can probably tell the difference between the C100 we were shooting with before and the XF100 we're shooting with now. Now I am shooting in 1080p to give you kind of a closer one-to-one comparison between the DVC camera we were shooting with and the Canon XF100 we're shooting with now. So again, both are at 1080p. But because of the quality of the camera and the quality of the built-in lens, you can definitely tell the difference. Now, one of the things I do want to talk about is the zoom. So we did talk about the 18 times zoom that's boasted on the DVC camera, but as my camera operator zooms in on this camera, you'll see that the difference is night and day, mainly because this is not a fixed focus lens. So as she zooms in, you see that the video not only keeps the integrity, but you can see finer details you couldn't pick up on before. So as we zoom back out, I want you to understand that we are already zoomed out, and I'm not even gonna edit that in because that's actually kind of funny. So yes, this camera is a professional camcorder. And this camera was put out in 2011. So what does that say? Canon as a brand is able to stand the test of time in all of its products, whether you're using a C100 or an XF100. Ironically, both of the cameras I'm shooting with right now are actually discontinued, but you see, they're still modern enough cameras where they actually have a place in the modern video market. So let's cut back to our C100 footage so we can end out the video. So there you have it, folks. You have the $200 camera versus the $2,000 camera. So at the end of the day, of course, the XF100 wins. It's not really even a contest, but it's a matter of your budget and what you want your video to look like. If you only have $200 to work with, this might be the camera you start with. At the end of the day, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. So, my name is Isaiah Upshaw. I am the director of content here at Above the Cloud Media. For more videos like this, subscribe to our YouTube channel and also follow us over on Facebook as well as Instagram as linked below. And we will see you in the next video.